Of all the animals that are typically known to attack humans, the least expected of them are often the ones that surprise us the most. For instance, certain animals, especially among herbivores, just do not strike most of us as particularly dangerous, let alone ferocious. In today's episode, however, we delve into the dark side of one such animal that has time and time again proven that it's a force to be reckoned with. Standing at around 6 feet tall, the moose is the tallest mammal in North America. These ungulates have little interest in humans and are generally not aggressive, but depending on the circumstances and motivation, this seemingly docile deer can easily turn into a flailing wild beast that can inflict substantial damage to an unsuspecting victim. Oftentimes they administer brutal maulings that can include injuries such as broken bones, lacerations, and in more severe cases, even death. It was one of these mighty creatures that 58-year-old Robert Standerwick of Coal Creek, Colorado would encounter while walking his dogs on one fateful summer morning, a day that would alter the course of his life forever. For 24 years, Standerwick lived peacefully in his Colorado home on Hummingbird Lane in the aforementioned small town of Coal Creek, located in Boulder County, a close-knit community nestled in the shadow of Crescent Mountain. Standerwick was accustomed to living in a small, somewhat rural town amid nature and wildlife. He would also religiously walk his dogs Phantom and Magic 3 times a day down a trail along the creek. He would follow the exact same path every day without incident until one summer morning when he'd suddenly cross paths with a moose and her calf. Standerwick had been walking Phantom and Magic along one of the trails through the greenbelt when he would abruptly hear the sounds of branches snapping loudly. He could not hear or see anything ahead of him due to a hairpin bend in the road, and it was at this point that suddenly out of nowhere, the massive mother moose then emerged from an aspen grove about 5 feet away from him and began charging straight at him. There was no time for him to run or get behind a tree, and before he knew it, the 1,200-pound beast had knocked him to the ground and was standing on top of him. It's important to note that this was not the first time that Standerwick had encountered this particular mother and her calf. It's just that they'd never caught him by surprise before, as on previous encounters Standerwick had always spotted her well in advance, giving him enough time to divert to another trail.
I've seen her in the past, and when we see her or her with her baby, we know to divert, either turn around or divert to another trail, and she's never had a problem with that. By the time I recognized that she was coming right at me, I was on the ground.
Standerwick knew that he only had seconds to react or be crushed to a pulp, which is when he hurriedly reached into his right pocket and pulled out a small firearm. But in a strong display of humanity and character, he hesitated to shoot, as despite the deadly situation that he found himself in, the animal lover did not want to risk mortally wounding the moose. He would then rapidly fire 2 warning shots into the ground next to them, finally managing to stun the mother moose, who then ran off with her calf in tow. A relieved yet badly injured Standerwick would then attempt to hobble back home, but would only manage to get halfway before eventually running out of energy, collapsing to the ground in exhaustion and agony. Standerwick's odds at this point were bleak. However, to his good fortune, help was not far away. Approximately a quarter of a mile away, Colin Howe, a neighbor of Standerwick's, had just stepped out of the shower when he heard gunshots echoing into the canyon. Howe immediately thought of a bear that had been seen around the neighborhood, assuming that someone might have fired warning shots to scare it away, an instance not foreign to him. However, once he heard the cries of the man in distress, he of course knew that something was terribly wrong, which is when he ran outside and caught sight of Standerwick's 2 dogs, who'd been running around and barking frantically. Howe would then immediately search the area and a short time later would find a motionless Standerwick lying on the ground. His injuries included blunt force trauma to the head, his hand was badly severed, and he had a hoof print on his chest. It was at this point that Howe alerted his wife to call 911 while he stayed with and comforted Standerwick until help finally arrived. Standerwick was rushed to the hospital and treated for his injuries, which were once again to his good fortune, non-lethal. And following the incident, he remarked on just how lucky he was not only to survive being trampled, but also to have been found and rescued. Howe, the hero in the story, would later reveal that he found Standerwick in a remote part of the woods that no one really went down. So had he not been there, Standerwick's situation would have been much worse. And moreover, had Standerwick not had a firearm, he likely would not have been able to scare off the moose with those warning shots, which may have very well cost him his life. The incident would go on to reinforce the respect for these mighty creatures throughout the Coal Creek community, and according to Howe, the moose population showed up just a few years prior to this incident, and residents have reported seeing them much more frequently. And because they are by far the most dangerous animals in the area, and are more feared by some members of the community than mountain lions, bobcats, and even bears, this of course is not a good thing. Now, when considering why this particular incident was so dangerous, we already mentioned that the moose that attacked Standerwick was a female with a calf, so it did make sense that she would be on high alert. Her actions could also be a result of being startled by Standerwick, who surprised her on the trail as she did him. And when she spotted him coming around the bend, she did what mothers do and protected her baby from the perceived threat. and it's for this reason that moose cows are especially dangerous during late spring and early summer, when calves are still young. But it's important to note that in general, based on many other incidents, it would seem that encounters with moose are not as unusual as one might think. And while it's important to note that moose are not naturally aggressive, they can become dangerous when surprised or startled, which triggers their fight or flight instinct, and this happens especially during mating season or when a mother is protecting her calf. Not to mention the presence of dogs can also set them off, as they may see them as predators. In the case of Robert Standerwick, he found himself at the wrong place at the wrong time. Standerwick acted commendably in response to the attack, and not only was he able to save his own life, but his empathy and his caring nature also helped him spare the life of the mother moose, and most likely her calf. Without his sense of compassion and quick thinking in the face of danger, things could easily have gone the other way for him. It's unfortunate that not everyone shares the same respect upon encountering dangerous animals. There are many clips out there of people taking unnecessary chances and even antagonizing wild animals. One such incident occurred earlier this year in Montana when a moose attacked a man who kept taunting the animal even after being warned by onlooking residents.
Go ahead, try it. Go ahead, try it. See what happens. Get the away from the moose. Get him. Yeah, get him. Yes. Get him.
As you can see here, they were warned multiple times, and they're extremely lucky that this didn't turn out way worse than it did. And of course, idiocy aside, there are many instances where even innocent people who were just minding their own business have found themselves on the wrong side of the hoof.
Hey, watch out! Watch out!
According to experts, one of the best courses of action when facing a charging moose is to get out of sight or behind an obstacle. However, depending on the circumstances, this of course may not be possible and is not always effective. That's why carrying bear spray and being armed, if the law allows it, is crucial. Fortunately, most moose attacks are non-fatal, but thousands of people are injured by these robust animals annually in the United States alone. And as mentioned before, in the northern regions, moose are considered by some to be even more dangerous than bears. And due to their rising population numbers in these areas, where they end up in close proximity to humans, the number of moose encounters are naturally higher. In the end, it's always important to remember that taking precautions and respecting the risks when wild animals are around, especially ones as formidable as moose, is crucial in order to coexist peacefully with nature and her beasts. I did just make a video where I went over some close calls with actual footage of some insane animal encounters. There are multiple different species covered. You really don't want to miss that one. I'll leave it for you at the end screen of this video. Once again, this is Animal Al. Hit that like and subscribe button if you're new. Till next time.